Well, hello, my podcast people. This is estate planning and asset protection attorney Leslie Marenco bringing you another episode of Fun with Death and Taxes. Today, I am joined by my very good friend and colleague, Nicole. Nicole, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Nicole Martins. I'm the founder of MLF, and just like Leslie, I also handle estate planning and probate matters.
So today, we're going to be unpacking Aretha Franklin and her $80 million state shit show. She needs no introduction. She has like 18 Grammys. The woman was like a cultural icon. She's one of the greatest voices of all time. And sadly, she died when she was about 76 years old of a very aggressive cancer. But it's not like she got run over by a bus. You know what I mean? Like, I know the pancreatic cancer that she had was very aggressive. She died within the year of that diagnosis. But still, she had some time if she would have wanted to do something more than what she did. So I'll break down the family as we do in every podcast episode so everybody gets an idea of what we're working with here. We got 4 kids. We got Clarence, who has his own issues because he's actually special needs, and we're not going to get into that today because I think we have enough to discuss with
whole
just
separate episode.
What we got. But that is really crazy that we're going to try to DYI special needs planning, guys, which for everybody out there,
Please don't.
That is not something you're going to be able to do. I don't care what legal Zoom you go sign on to, all right? Just FYI. So we have Clarence, who has his own issues and really should have his own specific planning. We have Edward. We have Teddy. And then we have the youngest, which I'm sure I'm messing up his name. Don't come at me. His name is Kakaf or wherever the accent mark is. I don't know, but he is the youngest. And the assets in the estate are actually quite, typical and simple for the celebrities we usually talk about, because we have, of course, the catalog of all the music and we have all the IP-related stuff. We're going to be breaking down today the issue about what became really like news all over the country as these things were being discovered, because when she first passed away, everybody just thought we're going intestacy. Like, nobody had a copy of a will. Nobody was ever told, hey, I did a will. Like, you know how we tell our clients, please at least tell your PR, your representative.
That this exists.
That this exists.
And where it is.
And right. Like, don't leave everybody in the dark wondering who's the attorney that could help me now, right? So nobody knew anything, and they thought this was going to go intestate by Michigan law. Well, lo and behold, we find a will in a cabinet, and it is dated 2010. And then, lo and behold, a year later, so the probate is well on its way,
I can't
and we find under the couch cushions, I guess before the garage sale, I don't know, like, a will dated 2014. We're going to call this the couch will. So we got the cabinet will, guys.
And the couch will.
And the couch will. Like, we're very precise here. And both of them are handwritten. Both of them are just like, you know,
Which is valid.
I mean, we're very
wills.
informal
Yeah.
here. We're very informal here. So we got tons of problems, as you and I immediately can recognize. But let's start here, Nicole. Like, how many times, I mean, and it's not that we have Aretha-style celebrity clients, you know, one day we will. I have not had an Aretha-style, I should speak for myself. I have not had an Aretha-style celebrity client with these kind of issues, but she knew she might pass away reasonably. She knew she's not poor, right? And yet, she decided to sit on her couch in between watching, I don't know what people watch. I only watch Law and Order and like Forensic Files or something. So whatever normal people watch during the commercial break, she decided she was gonna
Write her will.
Update it.
Update.
Update her will. That's lovely. How often do you see people come into your office, family members, I imagine, of a deceased, that come to you with some like paper that they believe is like their will, and you're like, is this like...
No. In 10 years, 0 times. In 10 years, 0 times.
You see.
It's not common.
It's not common.
It's not
And
common.
and it might be just a product of, and we're going to discuss this, how rigid our laws are here in Florida. Then let's take that up a notch in, maybe they're not as bad as they wrote it on the couch, but how often do you see somebody trying to DYI?
Oh, that is often.
And
That
now
is
I
often.
imagine with ChatGPT, this is going to happen more and more It hasn't happened to me yet, but I hear other people talking about how like someone is coming up with like a ChatGPT will and calling an attorney to see if they'll review it.
That's
which
happened
is
to me.
Wild.
That's happened to me.
Wild.
Or better yet, have you had clients put your documents through ChatGPT and ask you to make revisions? Because that's happened to me recently.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah,
They're
it's so cute.
uploading your document and like ChatGPT is like commentary.
Correct.
Like, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Technology is a blessing and a curse.
Sure. Double-edged sword for sure. You know, like certainly the DYI thing, the Legal Zooms or the, what is this other company that's really
Rocket Legal?
Rocket
Legal, I think?
Lawyer, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah. Is the other one that certainly has marketed well, I guess, here in Florida.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. They do great marketing.
They do great
That's for sure.
marketing. And even though all over their website is like, we are not your lawyers and we don't know if this is, you know, compliant with any law, whatever, go have it reviewed. People still think that this is going to be suffice.
That's right.
So then, the crazy part about all of this, I guess, is like, I don't know sometimes if people just don't care because they're like, you know, like they'll be dead, right? So they feel like they've done enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's their family that has to deal with whatever craziness this is. And they're like, what do you mean this is not valid? What are you talking about? So it's very, it's a touchy thing. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, this is a very selfish move. Almost worse than if you wouldn't have done anything. Sometimes I'm like, this is like, are
That's
you
right.
trying to assuage your own bullshit of like, oh, I did what I was supposed to do. I'm such a responsible person. And no.
But you know what gets me is that it's really lack of education. It's one consult is probably with an attorney, and there's plenty of attorneys that offer free consults, right? It's one consult to give you at least a really solid understanding of what you should do. It doesn't take that much time or effort. The amount of time it takes to do an online or a holographic, a handwritten will, is the same amount of time you would spend with an attorney for 30 minutes or an hour and avoid all this nonsense. So
Yeah.
it's sad because there's no need for this.
It
Especially
really
someone
is kind of crazy.
With an estate like hers.
Yeah. And I mean,
It's a shame.
it's kind of crazy as we're going to see how much credibility is given to these wills because when I first initially, you know, when she died and all of these things were coming out, and I was just like, oh, well, that's not going to work. You know, I immediately defaulted to like our Florida law,
yep.
and then this just snowballed, and it gets quite interesting. So let's break down these wills just a little bit because they're both holographic, and tell our podcast audience, which are not lawyers generally, what is a holographic will?
It's a handwritten will. It's when you write down what your wishes are for your stuff when you're no longer here.
In a notebook, on a napkin, on the couch. I mean, like, it's wild out here, apparently. And so we have both of these, and they're both holographic wills. She wrote both of these down on her own paper. They're not even typed. It's not even on Word Perfect or Microsoft Word. Or I'm sitting here like, well, if you don't pay for Microsoft Word, what do you have? I don't know. Notes on your iPhone.
On your
Like,
iPhone, yeah.
It's not even on the iPhone, guys. It is on physical paper. There are no witnesses to either one of these wills. Nobody signed saying that they are witness to the will. The 2010 one that was later stored in the cabinet at least seems to have some respect because she eventually took that lovely piece of paper and, you know, went to the UPS store or something and said, hey, I'm going to sign this. Can you notarize? And they said, sure, $10. And they notarized. That's like, we just had an episode on Casey Kasem where like everybody, like the kids and the wife or whatever, somebody dragged him. He was already quite incapacitated probably, but this was signed in a UPS store or FedEx store. And we're like, really? Okay, guys, that's already, you know, not the greatest facts on your side. But this was signed somewhere. At least it was notarized and it was signed. And there is no, nobody is saying that isn't her signature, or else there would have been all types of handwriting experts and stuff. So at least the 2010 document was stored in the like china cabinet somewhere. That's what I envision, like the china cabinet. You know, how old people have like
A china cabinet.
the good china,
love
like
it.
it's stored in there somewhere. Like then fast forward 4 years, and she's like, change some stuff. I'm gonna redo this, and she just opens a notebook and starts writing. And that one also does not have any witnesses. It is not notarized. Not only that, her own writing, she starts crossing off certain things and like writing other shit on top of it and like reforming the right there.
Is this
like,
the one she uses smiley faces?
Like,
on the bottom of
yes,
the
there's going to be a
pages?
smiley face instead of a signature. Which is also very adorable, but I mean,
Very problematic
Do
for
with that
the
what you
courtroom.
will. And that one's not even notarized. So we have here two holographic wills, right? Handwritten, no witnesses, no real external evidence that somebody can point to and say, yeah, I was there. I saw her write that down, and I saw her sign it.
Yeah.
You know, like nothing, guys. Nothing. That's all we got. So I'm going to read to you Michigan statute. And Michigan is either the most honest place on the planet, or I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing over there. Like, I cannot even believe this. Okay, literally. The statute starts. So this is the Michigan Estate and Protected Individual Code. I was like, wow, it looks like their probate, guardianship, everything is like one. All right, excellent. So code 700.2502. A traditional will must be in writing, signed by the testator, and signed by two witnesses. We're doing good so far, right?
So far, so good.
We're doing good. So this is what we think of as a will, guys. There's an exception, which is like, what?
Swallows the rule.
Like, what? Exactly. It becomes the rule. It says, and this is now I'm quoting here, guys. I'm going to read it verbatim. A will that does not comply with 700 to blah, 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 what I just said above, is still valid as a holographic will, whether or not it's witnessed.
Optional.
Already I'm shaking my head, guys. If it's dated, ooh, big whoop. And it has a signature, excellent. And the document's material portions are in the testator's handwriting. Only the material portions,
Right.
apparently.
So everything else can be a joint effort.
So, right. Like, so now we got other people helping you write this will. Like, this is just wild. Like, this is totally insane. Somebody please put the emoji with the head exploding over my face right now, because that is absolutely bonkers. Please tell me I'm not the only one that feels that way, Nicole, because
No, it is bonkers. It's just too easy to forge, make up, not actually show the intent of the person that's drafting or writing their holographic will. But it's crazy because in Florida, it's absolutely different, and it's just so strict here. We are not Michiganders. We are not honest in Florida.
There's no way.
That would never fly.
There is absolutely no way that, and even if this would have been let's say this was the law in 1985, like the amount of litigation this would cause, and the amount of problems, and the amount of, I don't know, we'd have to hire like 2,000 more judges or something in probate court, because this is just totally insane. Everything becomes an issue of fact.
Everything.
Like, whether, they wanted it, the scratch outs mean one thing versus another, whether the smiley face is a signature, whether that was her writing it at all.
What are the material portions? How does that define?
Right.
How is a signature defined?
Right. Is like the house that's worth $2 million, more material than something else. Like, what does this even mean? Like, this is pretty crazy. And what it opens itself up to, especially on the litigation side, is every single one of these things, now we need testimony as to them? Like, she had to go and tell somebody, like, hey, I don't know, scribbled some stuff and I left it on the couch. Well, clearly they didn't know that because it took a year to find this thing. So how are we proving any of this at all? How are we proving the intent that she really wanted to override, if we're even going to pretend that the previous one is legitimate, right? Like, is valid. How are we proving the intent that this is overriding the last one? The dating seems very important in the statute.
Sure.
They mention it several times. So having the date written on the will seems really important in Michigan. But man, is this going to be a huge problem. I mean, I can't imagine. We do a lot of celebrity stuff here, and now I'm kind of realizing, okay, it's usually New York, California. Prince was, where was Prince? Minnesota, that's right. So we broke down the Minnesota statute, which wasn't as crazy as this. So maybe there are other states that are this lax, but certainly this is not common.
No.
And I mean, this isn't 500 years ago. This isn't 25 years ago. this case was decided, at least which will is, if either is valid and which one overrides, in 2023. Like, that's
3 years ago, that's it.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
That is absolutely nothing. So, in Florida, as we're alluding to, the rules are very, very different. Break down the basic rules.
I mean, for holographic wills or
No,
just in general? Okay.
real. Like, fuck these holographic wills. We don't take that shit here.
It has to be in writing, signed by the testator, 2 witnesses, dated,
And they see each other.
and everybody
sees
together
each
at
other
the same time during
right?
the signature. That's right.
And I guess what the biggest difference truly is here, right? Like, is how strict we abide by those formalities.
That's right.
Like, when we don't have one of the witnesses that whatever doesn't sign or something, it's not like you can just go, hey, but my attorney knows that there's another witness, they just forgot to sign, and like they can testify. Or my aunt was there and like I was there. Like, no. It fails. Like, on
right.
its face,
Legally
guys.
deficient.
The document fails. Like, we're not gonna entertain here in Florida, because then this would just open up it would just be a shit show of epic proportions. Like, everything would become litigated. So for everyone to know, because we do have a very Latin American community, Nicole actually is Brazilian, not Cuban, as all of you probably think, and has a very large, I guess, like the type of clients that you have, because there's very few of us that speak Portuguese. And as we all know, clients want to kind of understand what's going on and absolutely want to communicate with their attorneys in their language and everything else, that you quite have a lock on that market, I feel, you know?
Yeah, it's grown. It's turned into a niche that was unintentional.
For sure.
But yeah, people want to do business in their own language. They just feel comfortable. And I just am a box of surprises.
Florida law respects documents that come from other places, whether it's another state or actually whether it's another country. The only that I know of exception to that is the holographic will statute. If it's from Brazil or Michigan or wherever, and there aren't 2 witnesses and at all, we don't care. Like, we just don't care. We will not respect that document here. And that really goes to show, I feel, how the public policy evolved here in Florida, probably because of the fraud. Probably.
I was just going to say, there's a reason for it. There's a reason. I think I read at some point that South Florida is the capital for elder abuse and elder fraud.
For sure.
So that makes
Medicaid
perfect
fraud.
sense. Medicaid fraud.
That's
is
our pastime here.
That's right. That is what we lead in
yes.
South Florida. So it makes sense. The statute had to evolve to keep up with what was going on in the private sector. And so Florida laws are really strict. But they make perfect sense for here, and like you said, maybe not in Michigan. Maybe they don't need to have the strict requirements that we do here. But.
And the other thing is, like, you could kind of almost, and I don't know what the like la legitima is in Brazil, right? I don't know if in Brazil you have to have a will, or really the law already breaks down to spouse, to children, and whatever.
Yeah, there
right?
is a forced succession, but there is like a percentage you are allowed to give away
Okay.
from your family, but not all of it. It's like very small. It's 20-25%.
Got it.
Everything else has to go to either spouse or
Do
children.
you feel like that leads Brazilians, the way I feel like my Latin, my Hispanic people, that leads Brazilians to be like, I don't really need to do any planning, because, like, culturally, they're like, the law takes care of this, right? Like, why do I need to do anything? Back in Brazil, people die.
For
it
sure.
Immediately goes to wherever it needs to go, and we're good. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot less of an urgency to do it. And also the vehicle of a trust just doesn't exist in Brazil.
Right.
So everything I've always been asked is, I need a will. And then we have to educate and explain that that's probably not enough for an Aretha Franklin, or for someone, frankly, that just has a couple properties, a business, and some bank accounts, right? And so that's part of our job, really, is just to educate folks and help them understand what's best for
sure.
what they're trying to do, even if they come in saying, I just need this one thing. But yeah, for Brazilians, it's a different concept. It's a different concept
sure.
because of the forced succession, and there's no success in Brazil.
Yeah. And I always tell clients, and like the kids of clients and whatever, because sometimes we'll get, my mom and dad don't really know if they need to do anything, but my friend just did something and I have some questions, and literally we'll have people come in for planning sessions that are just really asking questions, because in Colombia it's so different.
That's right.
In whatever, it's so different. And so that culture and that difference is hard to overcome because people just don't know. But Miss Franklin over here does not have that excuse. I mean, everyone in this country, I believe, knows they should have some will. It says, when I die, this is what I want to happen. And you don't want 6 jurors figuring out and basically deciding for you, essentially, what that's going to be. I mean, it's kind of insane that somebody at this caliber, knowing they're going to pass away, knowing the last time they drafted something in their notebook was 2014, 4 years prior.
Yeah, there's just so many tragedies other than her actual passing, right? It's knowing that she got the diagnosis and had time to do something and didn't. She drafted these things by hand, didn't actually have a conversation with anyone to make sure it was enough, So it's just tragic all around.
And the reason I think I say this as someone that gets roped into the litigation department quite often, at least to argue about cases and strategize. I almost started thinking that she believed that the 2010 will was the acting will, right? She went and got it notarized. It was in the cabinet.
But was it notarized after the 2014? No.
No.
Okay.
2010 was notarized in 2010. And so when she was just jotting bullshit down in 2014, right? Maybe she's thinking, and in 2018, when she gets a diagnosis of cancer, is she thinking, well, she should be thinking, I should go get a real will. Let's be real, guys. That's what she should have been thinking. But let's just say that's not going to happen. She thought she had more time. Very optimistic, this lady. But maybe she's thinking, clearly, where's that notebook? Under the couch. Does she even remember that the 2014 was in the notebook? We don't know. But at least she has to know, the 2010 is in the cabinet. She got it notarized. I think I'm stuck on the notarization of how this case turned out. I am, blown away by the result of how this case turns out. I think it is an incorrect result. Who the fuck am I? But to override 6 jurors, or in our world, usually there is no 6 jurors. The judges going to decide what they decide. But when let's break this down, because to me this is how in the world, so the judge. Well, first let's break down, I guess, the key differences of why do we care which one's valid, right? There has to be a difference in what A says versus B says. So in the cabinet will, we have 2 kids that are really getting more of the estate, and the ones that are getting more of the estate are taking it outright, as we say, just here's your money. And the 2 that were getting less have a lot of restrictions. So in the 2010 will, we have the 2 youngest had hey, go get yourself a job, go get yourself a degree, all these conditions, right? Which people don't like. People get very insulted when they read that their parents thought they were...
At least that they're being treated unequally.
They're being treated unequally. Unequally. Not good. So the 2 youngest really were put restrictions on. Then in the 2014, it seems like in those 4 years, things changed. It seems like maybe the younger ones started visiting more often. You know how that starts to happen, right? I don't know.
Became sweet all of a sudden.
I have this client that always tells her kids, she I think jokingly threatens all of her kids. She has 4 kids too. With, depending on the day, one of you's gonna hear it more than the other. Because she says, I have favorites. They just change every day. That's what she loves to say to them. I absolutely have a favorite. It just depends on the day which one is my favorite. So in the 2014 will, it really seems like all of a sudden we have a little bit of a shift, and the younger kids, maybe they became more responsible. Maybe they grew up. Maybe she felt better about it. 4 years is a long time when certain ages are, right? The difference between 20 and 24, 24 and 28, when the fuck do people grow up? Very personal kind of determination, but it does seem like there was a huge change in mindset around that. And all of a sudden, the youngest is going to inherit, let's call it the mansion in the hills. And he's going to get another piece of property. He's going to get the cars. He's going to get more of the personal property. And then everything else was kind of being split equally, like the IP rights, because of course everybody's going to get $1 zillion here from the music catalog, et cetera, et cetera. But that was getting split equally 3 ways. Poor Clarence, special needs child, we're not sure how they were going to deal with this. But his share would probably go into some guardianship and all of that shit show that would happen. Again, not a topic for this, nor did I research it. But all of a sudden now we have somebody that in the first will wasn't getting as much and had restrictions. And now in the next will, he's the favorite, right? So that is why we're going to have litigation. For sure, litigation is coming.
Of course. First two kids are going to be mad about the second will existing and now favoring the other two kids.
And it was found under the couch. Like, ours was notarized, right? And so the judge, I mean, this takes years to go to trial. We're 5 years into this probate when the hearing or whatever happens, I would call it a mini trial, just on which will is the presiding document, which testamentary document is the valid document. And it seems like the way that the judge presented this as what is the jury going to determine was merely is the 2014 will valid? And I guess that since both of them are holographic, just being in the cabinet and being notarized is not part of the statute, right? So even though I'm giving this a lot of credit, I, Leslie, am giving this a lot more credibility. Judge said, that's adorable, Leslie. Nobody gives a fuck what you think. Because the statute says nothing about notarization. Yeah. It says nothing about you cared for it and put it in the cabinet or anywhere else. The statute does not discuss how, like, I guess how serious your intention was around the document.
And not even notarization.
You know?
That's not even in the statute.
Not at all, right?
Yeah.
So me really hinging on, she took the time to go somewhere, FedEx store, and get it notarized so people would know that's her signature, you know, whatever. Judge gave 0, as they should if they're strictly construing the statute, gave it 0. Really, he didn't care at all. The only question for the jury was, is the 2014 will valid? Does it comply with these things, very few things? Is it dated? Is it signed, even with a smiley face?
That's wild.
And do we believe that Aretha had the intent to make it her will? And I'm sure there's witnesses, all of there are, that testified on both sides. And the jury came back with yes. They believe the 2014 will is valid. Therefore,
with smiley faces for signature.
With smiley faces, I mean, I find that adorable. I really do. I tend to doodle smiley faces on things all the time.
Not on legal documents.
But not as the signature on my will or trust. My God. And that was enough for them. And I'm sure there was a witness or two that said, yeah, around 2014, she had said she wanted to amend her will. And, you know, like even in the will itself, she scratches out, she chose different PRs there, personal representatives, and different little, that is irrelevant to our conversation. What that actually, whether that PR became that person or it was the other person she wrote on top. But that is the valid document.
So 2010 gets kicked. Cabinet will gets kicked out. Couch will is valid.
Found under the couch.
6 people determine this.
6 people that don't know
jurors
nothing about nothing.
Made
What
a
is it?
decision.
6 people that were not smart enough to get out of jury duty. I had my criminal law professor once said that. Like the 6 people that are not smart enough to get themselves out of this are the ones
That is
determining
one way to
your
look
fate.
at it. That's right.
You know, and it's just amazing to me. I can't get over, I'll tell you. I know I'm putting too much, I guess, emphasis on this notarization when the statute don't give a fuck.
Statute doesn't care, Leslie.
Statute doesn't care.
Statute doesn't care.
But guys, it was found under the couch like a year later. Like, did she even know this still existed 4 years
But wasn't
later
it
when
in
she
a
dies?
notebook?
In a notebook.
In a notebook, not on a piece of paper?
Just because it's dated. It seems like just because it's dated and it looks like something that one would draft, like, I, Aretha, want to leave my shit to my youngest son because now he's my favorite and blah, blah, blah. He gets the mansion and he gets like that in and of itself is not enough. Like, I don't understand.
The statute said so and the jury said so.
The statute really seems to love the dating. Like, this one is dated after. Therefore, no matter how careless you were with this one must override the other one. And this is offensive. I'm offended. Like, I am so, like...
I'm not as offended.
She's like, I'm really not.
I'm not that offended.
Like Judge Martin over here is, like, very...
Black and white.
She's like, the statute says what the statute says, bro. Write your senator. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Write your legislature.
I tell people that all the time.
It is actually really... I was very surprised at this result. I tend to be very alterada in my opinions. I know, I'm aware. I fight with my associates all the time about shit that I don't believe is correct or should not be correct. And I think I'm very trained by Florida, right? That it's just like, none of this shit's coming in. None of this would even be, like, we don't get to the next step.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing that people should take away from this podcast, because God forbid, don't none of y'all go out if you're in Florida and start jotting bullshit down in a notebook and put it under your couch and think that it's going to be okay. We do not even get to phase 2 of, I got witnesses, there's no doubt, she recorded herself saying, this is my last will and this is everything. It does not fucking matter. There is no evidence coming in if the formalities are not met here,
That's
right?
right.
So I have rigid mindset about this, for
Same.
sure. But Judge Martins, tell me, do you think Florida's too rigid or is like Michigan too lax, too risky? Like, where do you fall in this if you could revamp this a little?
Oh, I think with everything I have seen in my own practice over the years, I don't think that Florida's too rigid, and it actually makes things easier. I think it makes things easier to have
Very
more qualifications or more formalities, if you will, than not, right? It becomes too loosey-goosey. So Michigan, like we talked about, what does the substantial or material portion of the will mean? What does that mean? How do you define that? And then what, you got to litigate that?
Can you imagine they would have brought this will, and on top of all this shit show, it would have been like separate handwritings of
Right.
different people writing shit? Are
Right.
you nuts?
So it's okay if you write the intro, right? I am so-and-so, but then the material portions are in my handwriting, and then who determines that? There's got to be a handwriting expert if there are no witnesses. It is a disaster. It's a dumpster fire in the making.
For sure.
But
For
perhaps it works for the Michiganders. That would certainly not fly or work for Florida. Can you imagine
This would just
being the fraud capital of the U.S., particularly in South Florida? I mean,
it would just be too easy.
No.
It would just be way too easy.
and it would drown out the legal system. It would, like you said, we need 2,000 judges. Everybody would litigate over everything, and it would just be a nightmare. So I think that having the more formalities and having more restrictions actually makes it easier.
Yeah, and here's my bigger, like, something that I thought of as I was like looking at this. Like, what if the 2010 will would have been a real will? Like a real, like, went to a lawyer, got a will, there's witnesses, lovely. China cabinet, lovely. And now in 2014, you're sitting there doodling on the couch and like you write 2014 on it. It looks like you want to override the previous document because I, Aretha, want this to be my will and leave everything to my other kid now, whatever. Like, are you telling me that this bullshit was gonna override an attorney's 2010 will because it is valid as a holographic will? And if it's valid, then it automatically overrides the previous
one.
document, right? Nowhere in the statute does it say the holographic can never override the real, right? Like, no, it's only a question of validity. Maybe their case law has something to that effect of like, we're not gonna let this fucking dumpster fire override something we know is
We have
valid.
limits.
We do have limits. But that is not obviously part of what happened here, nor is that something that came up. But it's something that immediately, as someone that deals with this shit every day, like you just see all kinds of craziness.
Absolutely.
And I could absolutely see like, no, everything you did with an attorney is irrelevant, is absolutely irrelevant. Because if you sit on your and jot some bullshit down and like, especially if you're, this kid is probably still alive, so don't come sue me. I'm not saying you did this. You sit next to mom, you talk to mom, hey mom,
Right.
we should ponder what changes you want to make. Make sure you date that mom, okay? Make sure you put the date on it, put a smiley face.
There are no
Like,
witnesses. Who knows?
there's no witnesses.
Who
Like,
knows?
I don't understand like any of this and how this statute is the way that it is. Like, it's just, it would have just been so much better if just she died intestate, guys. Like, she died with no document. It's fine. It's gonna go by Michigan law. And that's it. Like, sálvame quien pueda. Like, I don't know. Like, it's really concerning to me. It is really, and down here in South Florida, I mean, I guess I would have to hire 18 more lawyers in the litigation department, and they really would have to get another 30 judges in probate because everything would be, there would be, people come up with, I'm sure you see this, it's not just my lovely clients. In litigation, people will come up with fake marriage certificates from their country. You will tell them, like, well, if you didn't get divorced over there, then you can't possibly be married here because that would be bigamy. Oh, and lo and behold, 3 weeks later, magically divorces in Venezuela have appeared. And I'm like, really? Really? Do I look
Takes
stupid?
longer than that to get a copy.
Do I look stupid to you? Like my little sister could Photoshop that better than you just did. ChatGPT did it. Like, come on, bro. Like, so there's, like, can you imagine with the lax culture we have in South Florida?
No, I don't want to imagine.
No, we do.
I don't
that is
want
the
to
correct
imagine.
statement.
I don't want to imagine.
I don't want to imagine.
Keep my restrictions. Keep my formalities.
The rigidity and the formalities and everything else. So I guess the biggest estate planning lesson here, if you got a client come in tomorrow and, hey, I already did my previous wills in my couch, it's wild.
I mean, don't handwrite it.
No.
Just don't. Don't handwrite. Take 30 minutes. Take 30 minutes to have a conversation with someone, with a professional, and get your thoughts, get your scribbles, get your couch doodles on paper.
Do you know what's the, speaking of like the legal Zooms and the Rocket Legal or whatever, lawyer.com, where I see they fall apart, and we've been getting, like, I'm a data-aholic, and I only know how to compare and contrast things. It's like my ADD only fixates on certain things. The common denominator that I have seen in a lot of those documents is that people don't realize that in Florida, your residuary estate is where everything is really going to. They just think they need to start listing this asset and that asset, right, and and half those assets don't even exist by the time they pass away. And then what's left over in the residuary, which they didn't put anybody as beneficiary of the residuary. So here we are falling back to Florida
Probate.
statutes, and everything else. And that is where something like that, even when witnessed, and because the LegalZoom document tells you, please, red alert, yeah, we need witnesses, right? They still mess shit up.
They do.
We're not even considering the drafting screw ups here, because I guess it was easy enough to say my kid gets the mansion, and it is what it is. But particularly with like something like the special needs, I don't know how you even begin to do that. And there's like that particularity that's just Florida, like the residuaries where it's at, people like, and of course LegalZoom is trying to explain that to you, but they really don't know how. No matter how they try to explain it to you, you don't know what the residuary is when you're drafting your own will. So you're absolutely right. Like, even something that's basic, even something that's simple, like you said, there are attorneys that do free consults. We are not one of them. Don't call my office crying like, why don't you do a free consult? That's not going to happen. But there are plenty of attorneys that do. And you could go and get yourself some legal advice that at least puts you in the right direction. For sure. Because this cannot happen. Like this,
it should not happen.
It should not happen.
It should not happen.
It should not happen, especially here with this much money at stake. It's
heartbreaking.
It is. It is, especially for the two kids that, spent years litigating, because now everybody's fighting, right? Everybody litigated this case. Everybody had to get this side of the family or these friends or these witnesses, and everybody's against everybody. And for what? Like, why? It's sad. It is sad. Litigation is never a fun thing. It tears everybody apart. It makes everybody choose a side. Everybody becomes polarized. And we're talking about a lot of money. I can only imagine how these kids, after all of this, had to somehow, since they inherited the IP rights equally, now they have to make determinations on how to use her image and likeness and everything else after they've literally been at war with each other for 5 years.
Yeah, not fun. I don't want to be in that room.
No.
I don't want to be in that room.
No, hopefully there's a lot of good lawyers that are mediating between them, so none of them speak to each other, and they just make really smart financial decisions to make sure that the estate makes the money it can make for the benefit of the entire family. And I hope poor Clarence got great care and a special needs trust and everything else that he needed. Any final words of wisdom?
Don't DIY. Don't DIY your plan. Don't DIY your plan.
That really is.
It is.
That really is the biggest estate planning lesson here. Do not write some nonsense. And I know we have a worldwide audience, not just Florida. I know this is a very famous podcast, but if you're in Florida particularly,
Seriously.
you can't get away with this shit, so don't
And
try.
let me just say that even with the online Rocket Legal Zooms of the world, they do everything they can to make it seem as easy as possible. And while the prompts might be easy, they don't necessarily translate to the legal provisions in the document itself. Did I tell you about my client who disinherited a kid?
No.
Oof. I had a client who was in the middle of a divorce, had 2 children from one marriage, 2 children from another. He was known to drink a little bit. And apparently he went on, I can't remember now if it was Rocket Legal or LegalZoom, won something in the morning, creates a will, and somehow, nobody knows how, but somehow disinherits one of his kids.
I'm like envisioning like a drop down menu.
Right.
Right? Like and then he like clicks the wrong.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Oh my God.
That's exactly right. So it actually
Don't do it.
It was actually held up, and the way that they resolved it was that the daughter that got all of whatever was in the will in the estate, she ended up giving half to her brother because they had a good relationship. Yeah,
God bless her.
seriously. But there was no need for that. And we're not talking about they had $20 in the bank. This is all not an Aretha Franklin style estate, but just there was no need to do that at 1 o'clock in the morning in the middle of a divorce. I mean, who knows what the intention was there, but nobody can understand why because he had an amazing relationship with the son. So
right.
it
like
wasn't
clearly a mistake kind of thing.
It was a mistake, and to avoid the litigation and to undo it, the sister was just like, I'll just give you half. But wild.
Let me tell you,
Wild.
that's wonderful and that's really lovely.
That doesn't
the
happen
sister,
often, though.
I've never seen that happen.
No.
Even when like you would think something like that because you didn't hear about any problems before and there's clearly like an error in something, and I've not had that exact situation, but even where you think people are going to agree to do, they're like, oh yeah, no, like, and I'm like,
That's
oh shit, okay,
Too
just
bad
kidding.
for you.
Too bad for you.
Too bad for you.
Yeah, and then it becomes one of these like, well, what if that's what mom really wants? And I'm like, oh, okay, aquí vamos, está bien. Like, and so that is a wonderful person. She will have wonderful karma for,
That's
like,
right.
for her brother and whatever, but that does not happen often, guys. Not only that, but the other thing that immediately comes to mind is, I don't know if these people were above the exemption or not, but you can go into like very serious gift tax issues.
Sure.
If you're above a certain amount of wealth, a sister inherits and then goes, hey, I'm not paying 40% tax on gifting you shit, like that becomes a whole nother conversation with too many lawyers and too many accountants in between. And by the time you're finished with those conversations, you're not gifting anything.
That's right.
Right? You're just
the
like,
professionals are getting the gifts.
Just kidding, not happening.
That's right.
So, well, you heard it here first, people. Don't do this bullshit, especially if you have, I had an old boss and he used to say, my one old boss used to say, estate plans are not just for millionaires, but millionaires should get an estate plan too, because like he would see the dumbest shit and that we would have to refer over to the litigation department back then. And it was just like, how is it possible that these people didn't do any planning? And he would just immediately, his mind would be blown. He'd be like, I've been doing this for so long, I can't believe I'm still surprised.
That's exactly how I feel. I'm still surprised and boggled by how little information or access or care people have with their affairs, particularly when they have a lot of money.
Truly, how little care and I guess responsibility they feel to even leave things in a way that makes sense. Like it is kind of crazy. But thank you so much, Nicole. That is it for today. We could talk forever, as we really can. And I really hope you guys had as much fun as we did talking about the Aretha Franklin estate. Join us next time on Having Fun with Death and Taxes. You're going to be able to find all of Nicole's information anywhere on the YouTube channel. There'll be links to all of her stuff all over the place. And I'm sure they can find you on the Instagram and the Tickety Talk and all over.
All those places.
All those places. I am not cool or young.
I lie. I'm not on TikTok.
Oh, no?
I'm like all of them. No.
No Tickety Talk. Go back to Meta. We only love Zuckerberg here, apparently. Me too, actually. I don't think we're on the Tickety Talk. I'm like, I'm too old for this, bro. I don't know how this works. And so, follow us, join us, and we'll see you here next time on Having Fun with Death and Taxes.